So nuclear power. Energy industry officials say that we're in the renaissance of nuclear power now. Others, when they think of nuclear power, they think of radiation clouds over Chernobyl. So is nuclear power cleaner and greener?
No, it's dangerous, it's expensive, and it's not the solution to global warming.
I do not agree. I think it is the cleanest source of energy if you compare it to coal or to oil in terms of carbon emissions.
But don't compare it to coal and dirty oil. You should be comparing it to what we should be investing in, which is clean energy, solar, wind, geothermal, energy efficiency. That's where we need to be investing our spare dollars.
I'm glad you brought that up. Let's compare it to these emission-free, quote-unquote, technologies. Solar is very carbon-intensive, and so is hydro, and so is wind.
So energy efficiency. I mean, even if your argument were true, it would take 1,500 to 2,000 new nuclear power plants to make a dent in global warming. The cost of a nuclear power plant, $6 to $9 billion for a new power plant. That money is better spent right now on energy efficiency.
Timing as well. From start to finish, how long does it take to get a nuclear power plant online?
Some companies will do it in 6 to 10 years.
I don't believe it's going to take 6 years to site one of these plants. Nobody wants them in their communities. They're dangerous. Look at Chernobyl. Look at the radioactive emissions. People don't want these. They're too risky.
Well, and that's really the problem, I think, is that a lot of people's perception, is the Simpsons and the three-eyed fish, that Homer comes home with. Safety with the nuclear industry is a huge deal. We were talking about the decommissioning of nuclear plants all across the country. I mean, what do you say to people who say that they not only I don't want it next to my house, but also I don't want it to stay next to my house?
So maybe the public has some misconceptions about these three-eyed fish, but public favor is going up if you look at the numbers. And I actually want to reply to what she said about Chernobyl.
No,
it is. And in terms of Chernobyl, first of all, nuclear power plants in the United States are not designed like Russian power plants. We have some of the best safety features. And now they're coming up with designs of nuclear power plants that cannot melt down.
Can you understand why people might be suspicious of that, given that they said a 3-mile island could never occur as well, and yet it happened? Here again, you're giving assurances that this is a reactor technology that can never cause a meltdown. I guess the credibility of the nuclear industry is not necessarily the highest
Understood.
point.
But the difference is those assurances were opinions. I'm giving you scientific assurances.
They were not issued as opinions. They were issued as scientific assurances. Now, so why should we believe this?
Well, maybe
and that's not the only risk.
Maybe it's not even an issue of assurances. Maybe it's an issue of what's at stake. When Chernobyl happened, thousands of people were affected. It affected the Ukraine, Belarus,
right.
Talking about a huge number of people affected. What Dale's saying about credibility boils down to this. The nuclear industry, if you guys mess up, we are all going to pay, or a large number of human beings are going to pay. What are those costs when you look at solar or wind or hydro?
And we still haven't solved the waste problem. We now are 30, 40 years into the nuclear age, and we still don't have a way to store our radioactive waste, which is dangerous, weapons-grade material.
First of all, it's not waste. The waste that we have, even though I don't call it waste because it's going to be a resource for people in the future, it still has all the energy in it. So if we start reprocessing or recycling, in 10 years, by the end of the century, we'll have reduced all of our spent fuel by 80%.
Right now, we have a nuclear power plant operating within 30 miles of Manhattan, which has high-level radioactive waste, these quote-unquote spent fuel rods stored right there on site. It's a danger. We have 100 people hired just to be national security guards over this property because they are concerned about terrorist attacks.
Well, you call it a danger, yet the nuclear industry has been on, for years, the safest industry to work in. It's actually been okay to store spent fuel at these sites. It's never been an issue.
They're releasing radioactive materials into the Hudson River. I mean, the Indian Point power plant has been shut down how many times in the past 10 years? They're releasing stuff into the water. I mean, these are not safe facilities, even in their regular operating conditions.
Coal plants are not safe facilities. Coal plants have more deaths per year than nuclear power plants have. Coal plants spew nitrous oxide and other dangerous chemicals into the air. Nuclear power plants are clean. Now, if one power plant is run, by a company that doesn't do a good job, you can't blame that on, nuclear energy or nuclear power.
Can't you at least agree then that the science of nuclear energy allows that type of power to be one that can be dangerous?
Again, it
Whereas
depends
again, if we talk about sustainable or alternative energies, there at least is the possibility that if we focused on them, we're dealing with safer technology.
Well, the other aspect of that too is it's not just about safe technology. It's not just about the science, but it's about humans.
Sure.
And humans make mistakes, and I think that's what really troubles people. I got to say, we could probably spend an hour talking about this, and we're never going to resolve all these issues, but I appreciate you all coming out and talking about this. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.